In this video, we'll show you how to replace the shock and spring assembly set on your Ford F-150. This is located in the front of the vehicle and part of the suspension system. Go ahead and remove our hub cover. And we can remove the lug nuts with a 21mm. If your wheel is stuck on the hub, we can put one of the lug nuts on partially. And then we'll use a hammer on the back side. I'll be using a dead blow, that way I don't damage the rim. We can go ahead and remove the cotter pin from the outer tie rod. I'll be using a set of side cutters for this. Bend the ears straight. And then I like to use the side cutters, grab the end of the cotter pin, and then pry it out. We can remove the nut for the outer tie rod with a 21mm. We can just thread the castle nut on just a little bit while we remove the outer tie rod. To release the outer tie rod from the knuckle, we'll go ahead and strike the knuckle right here, but be careful not to damage anything. We can go ahead and remove our castle nut. We can set our tie rod off to the side. And we can remove the nut holding the upper control arm to the knuckle with a 21mm. Just thread that back on a little bit. To separate the upper control arm from the knuckle, we'll go ahead and strike it with a hammer. You want to be cautious though, not to damage anything else in this area. To remove the lower strut bolt, we'll use a 30mm. I'm going to hold the bolt with a wrench. You can use a 30mm socket to remove the nut. We'll use a 15mm socket to remove the upper strut mounting bolts. To get a little more downward movement on the lower control arm, we're going to go ahead and detach the sway bar link. We can do this with an 18mm. Our sway bar link started to spin, so I'm going to hold the collar just below the nut with some blocking pliers. There's enough room in there that we can do this without damaging the sway bar link. With that held, we should be able to remove the nut. Go ahead and pry down on this. And there we go. Now we can install the strut. And if the bottom is a little hard to get into the control arm, you can give it a little bop with a hammer. It's good to use a dead blow for this. We can go ahead and install one of our upper strut mounting nuts up on the top. Just to install our lower strut mounting bolt, we go ahead and pick up on the lower control arm and the knuckle, line up the hole, and go ahead and install our sway bar nut. We're going to hold these with our locking pliers again. And we can snug that down. Now we can go ahead and get the upper control arm installed back into the knuckle. Now I'm going to use a pry bar to press down on the ball joint of the control arm. That way we give it enough pressure that it holds it still while we tighten down the nut. We can torque the nut for the upper control arm to the knuckle to 85 foot-pounds. And we can torque the nut for the sway bar to 59 foot-pounds. Now with the suspension at ride height, we can go ahead and install the upper strut mounting nuts. And we can snug each of these down. And we can torque these to 30 foot-pounds. With the outer tie rod on the inner tie rod, we can go ahead and install it in the knuckle. And we can install the castle nut. Now we can go ahead and snug this up. And we'll torque this to 85 foot-pounds. We'll install the cotter pin. I'll use a set of side cutters and certainly use needle nose pliers. I'll just fold the ears of the pin around either side of the nut. With the vehicle at ride height, we can go ahead and snug down the lower strut bolt. And we can go ahead and torque that to 406 foot-pounds. We can go ahead and install our wheel. We'll go ahead and snug those down in a crisscross pattern with a 21 millimeter. We'll torque these to 150 foot-pounds in a crisscross pattern. We can reinstall our hub cover. Take the vehicle for a test drive and make sure you don't have any bad noises and the vehicle drives well.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.